The movie starts with showing a professional assassin known as the Killer staking out a hotel room in Paris, France. He believes his actions are simply in line with evolutionary human behavior, the survival of the fittest. He thinks of himself as a tool in the world system where the few have oppressed the countless years of civilization. He doesn't take sides and doesn't believe in the terms right or wrong. The Killer is a very disciplined assassin. He repeatedly recalls and follows these rules. Stick to the plan. Anticipate, don't improvise, trust no one, never yield an advantage. Fight only the battles you are paid to fight. Forbid empathy. Empathy is weakness, and weakness is vulnerability. And on every step, ask yourself what's in it for me. The Killer follows these rules every step of the way. In this day and age, where security cameras are everywhere and staying out of sight is practically impossible, the Killer avoids detection by staying anonymous. He cautiously selects the place he stays and blends himself into the environment. For this mission, he has chosen to camouflage himself as a German tourist, revealing them to be the most anonymous people the French people tend to avoid. The stakeout apartment is a room under construction. He is very careful in the way he uses toilets. He continuously cleans the appliances and makes sure he never leaves any trace of evidence that may lead to him. He travels with an electric scooter, which is very common, and only keeps a few things at the place he stays. He doesn't even sleep on a bed, he uses a table. He only leaves the apartment to get something to eat at the most inconspicuous place in Paris, the McDonald's. The Killer is not happy about this mission since it has been 5 days with the target being a no-show. He is then seen speaking with his handler, Edward Hodges. Edward asks the Killer to give it only 1 day, and he agrees. On the next day, the target arrives at the hotel with a dominatrix. As the target and the woman were preparing themselves for their acts, so was the Killer. He takes out his sniper, assembles it carefully, and waits for the most opportune moment to take the shot. As soon as he gets his window of opportunity, he takes it. But something that has never happened to him during his time as a professional hitman occurs. He misses the target and instead kills the woman. He tries to get a second shot, but a security guard arrives and quickly closes the curtains. Knowing it was a matter of time before they spotted the building he was in, he promptly disassembled the snipers, packed his stuff, and went out. He starts an electric scooter and drives away. On his way, he dumps his belongings and parts of the sniper in different places. Then, he goes to a garage, cleans himself up, changes his clothes, and takes a cab to the airport. The Killer reports the events to his handler, who is surprised such a problem occurred in the first place. After their little chat, the Killer takes a transit flight through the United States using a different name. On his flight, he is particularly suspicious of one guy, who wears a suit and carries luggage. At the airport, he notices the man's luggage is missing. This raises his concern. He uses a different alias to avoid detection. After he is told the flight to his destination is the next day by the booking clerk, he prepares for a potential attack. He puts a glass on the handle of the door and uses a room service to get himself a knife. But nothing happened all night, and the next morning he takes a flight to his hideout, the Dominican Republic. After he arrives home, he notices boot prints and cigarettes. He takes his gun and goes inside. He enters his home only to find blood splattered all over the house and broken house materials in the living room. This indicated a sign of struggle. After calling a cell number, he quickly goes to the hospital and finds his girlfriend Magdala beaten up and heavily sedated. She was being watched over by her brother Marcus. Marcus, still shaken after seeing what happened to his sister, describes to the Killer what Magdala told him before she passed out. There were 2 attackers searching for the Killer, one man and a woman. She was captured and tortured for information, but she managed to escape after she was able to stab the man, run through a plate glass window, and hide in the jungle. Marcus also reveals that the attackers left in a green taxi. He calms down Marcus and promises to take care of the situation. The Killer arranges her transfer to another hospital. He waits for her by her side until she wakes up and has a small conversation with her. He tells her to get some rest, and leaves the hospital feeling enraged. The killer goes to his home and digs up different weapons, passports, and other materials from his home. He is about to break one of his rules: never deviate from his plan. He had different passports and enough money to keep running, but instead, he decided to hunt the attackers one by one. First, he breaks into the green taxi company and accesses their database to collect the name and address of the taxi driver who drove the assailant to his home, Leo Rodriguez. The killer enters Leo's taxi pretending to be a passenger and holds him at gunpoint while asking him to describe what happened 3 days ago. Leo identifies one of the attackers as a man with a limping leg and the other one as a woman resembling a Q-tip. After he gets the information, the killer shoots and kills Leo mercilessly. Next, the killer travels to New Orleans to speak to the one person who could have leaked his location to the attackers, his handler Edward. Edward, a lawyer and the killer's former law professor, was the one who introduced him to the world of assassins. First, he goes into a storage unit where he has stashed different items like weapons, passports, and car plates. Then he sends 2 people to buy him a trash can, nail gun, and cleaning equipment. After studying the security of the place, he enters the building disguised as a cleaner and waits for a delivery man to leave the room. He cleverly avoids the alarm of security doors by carefully counting the seconds before they close. After entering the room, he forces Dolores, Edward's assistant, to restrain Edward and herself separately. Then, he proceeds to destroy all their electrical equipment. Edwards tries his best to convince him that none of these was his fault, stating that he had no choice in the matter but to comply with a very angry client. But the killer was determined to get to the bottom of it. He shoots Edward with the nail gun in an attempt to force him to reveal where he keeps backup files on everyone. However, Edward bleeds out quickly and dies before telling him anything. Dolores offers him to show the killer where they keep the identities of the attackers with one condition. He makes her death look like an accident in order to help her children get her life insurance. The killer agrees to her demands and she takes him to her home with her hands cuffed. The killer and Dolores arrive at her home. She tells him how to access the files that were arranged in some code and even shows him the name of the client, Mr. Claiborne. After he gets the names, contrary to what he did to the taxi driver, he shows empathy towards the woman. This time, he broke another rule: show no empathy. He keeps his word about making her death look like an accident. He snaps her neck and her body rolls down the stairs. On his way out to his next target, he scatters the evidence at random places and disposes of Edward's body. Now that he has identified his attackers, he goes hunting. He arrives in Florida to find the one they call the Brute. He easily identifies himself by his limp. He goes to buy meat, whiskey, and other chemicals which he uses to knock out the pit bull who guards the house. This allows him to gain easy access to the house of the Brute. Although the killer tried his best to conceal the sound of his movement, the Brute sensed the attack and surprised him by tackling him from behind. The two engage in a messy hand-to-hand combat, but in the end, the killer manages to shoot and kill him after the Brute realizes who is attacking him. After the fight was over, the pit bull woke up and chased the killer, but the killer made it outside first. But before he leaves, he sets the house on fire by throwing a Molotov cocktail. Next, the killer pays a visit to the woman called the Expert. She lives in New York, hiding in plain sight. He follows her into a restaurant and confronts her there. In their conversation, she reveals that she didn't harm his girlfriend, and it was the Brute's fault who attacked her. She also deduced that the killer killed both the Brute and Edward. Knowing she will definitely not make it out alive, she offers him to share her last supper of whiskey. She questions his motive by asking him out of all the ways he could have killed her and why he chose to confront her in a public place. They leave the restaurant and they go to the park. After a short conversation, the Expert seems to have slipped after stepping on a couple of stairs covered in ice. She asks the killer to lend her a hand to get up, but instead of lending a hand, he shoots her in the head. As her dead body is lying on the ground, a knife she was concealing is seen on her left hand. Finally, the expert is left with one more person to live with, the client. The killer knew this one was going to be difficult. The client is venture capitalist billionaire Henderson Claiborne, who resides in Chicago. The killer thinks getting rid of this man is not easy since the police tend to take an interest in the death of rich multi-billionaires, so he prepares to leave anything he has in North America. The killer transfers all the money he has in the account of one of his aliases to a bank in the Caribbean. Now, the killer carefully monitors Claiborne's routine. One morning, while Claiborne was putting his belongings into the back of the car, he picked up a brand name on his bag, which is the name of a gymnasium Claiborne is a member of. He buys a key copier from Amazon, quietly sneaks into the locker room, and makes a copy of Claiborne's penthouse. At night, he gets into the penthouse and confronts Claiborne. Claiborne explains that all this happened because this thing was his first time, and he didn't know what was going to happen after Edward offered him to clean up the mess and prevent blowbacks for an additional $150,000. The killer spares Claiborne's life, but promises him a very slow and excruciating death if he should cause him to come back. The movie ends with Magdala, who has recovered well from the attack, and the killer relaxing in front of an ocean outside a luxurious house in the Dominican Republic.